And your St. Louis Blues look to continue their win streak as they get a nice little matinee game against the Colorado Avalanche with puck drop at 3:30. We're here. My name is Brandon. That's Brandon with me over here. We're here to talk about Blues pregame show as they get ready to take on the Colorado Avalanche this afternoon. Welcome to the St. Louis Blues pregame show here on STL Sports. Glad to have you. If you're watching today's show, Brandon, how you doing today? I know you said you had a donut, which is a little unnormal.
Yeah, I had a little bit of a coffee this morning. I had a little bit of an early start to the day. Not used to being up early in the mornings that much anymore with being on a evening shift, but
Yeah.
gotta do what you gotta do sometimes in order to get the business going.
Right. Understand that, which is why we're here today, this morning to talk a little bit of Blues hockey, as they take on again the Colorado Avalanche at 3:30 puck drop. Both of these teams right now are playing really good hockey. Both are 8-1-1 in their last 10 games as well. This should be a fun one. I'd imagine it's going to be a very physical game for both the Avalanche and the Blues. Blues coming off a big win in Nashville the other night with 2 goals in 22 seconds to basically steal a win, because guy said in the post-game show after that game they probably did not deserve to win that game.
No. They definitely should have lost. I'm don't get me wrong, I'm happy that they won against Nashville, but with as many turnovers and as many giveaways as they had in that game, and just they couldn't get their forecheck going in a lot of the game until almost halfway through the second period. And once they did, they were able to get that first goal, and then so on and so forth from there. So They got lucky.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, it wasn't a great first period. I mean, they had 3 shots on net. We won't talk too much about the game, the game against Nashville. We'll focus on the game against Colorado today because that's what's important. There are, 3 shots on net the other night. You do something like that against Colorado today, it's not going to be a fun one, because this Colorado team, after the trade deadline, or during the trade deadline, they stacked their lineup from top to bottom.
Yes, they did. Yep, you're looking at a pretty much stacked lineup from Colorado from top to bottom. Offense and defense, no matter what line is going to be out there today for Colorado, you should always expect some sort of offense to be made with this team. And if you're going to be slouching, or if this Blues team isn't going to be on their toes, they're going to take it to them fast.
Yeah. You looking at a Colorado team who's playing just as well as the St. Louis Blues have been over the last at least month or so. They sit 8 points behind this Colorado Avalanche team in the standings right now. And how important of a game is this for the Blues? Not just when it comes to points, but just to show that, hey, this win streak isn't a fluke. Like, the Blues are serious. The Blues are here and they're not going away. How important is it for the Blues to basically show up and I don't know. I don't want to say prove everybody wrong, but kind of prove people not aware of what's happening in St. Louis with the Blues, kind of wake them up a little bit more.
Of course. Obviously, every game at this point of the season is going to be important for the Blues. This one specifically, it's going to be important because teams like Colorado, Dallas, Vegas, Edmonton, you're going to be playing against these types of teams if you get into the playoffs. And if you do well against them today, then who's to say whenever you get into the playoffs that you may have a second round matchup against this team. And if that happens, you want to show them that, hey, during the regular season, yeah, we may have struggled the first few matchups against you guys, because I think coming into this matchup, I think Colorado is 1-0 against the Blues.
Yeah.
And So it's going to be important. It's going to be crucial for the Blues to come out and have a dynamic forecheck against this team. They shouldn't have as many takeaways and giveaways in this game as they did in Nashville. If they do, then they're going to get throttled like we talked about a few minutes ago.
Right.
So if they can come out and show their dominance early and get on the board early, then they can get to their defensive game and they can shut down this Colorado offense. And I believe that if they can do all that, I feel like they can come out with some sort of points in this game. Any kind of points in this game is going to be crucial.
Right. I know we talked about it in our group chat last night about this little between this game, the game against the Edmonton Oilers, and who else was the Winnipeg Jets. Like, hey, if they can walk out of here with at least 3 points out of these games, even if they could get a win. Edmonton's not playing the greatest hockey right now. If they can, 2 points against Edmonton, that's even better. But this game,
and they lost George Skinner.
Yeah, I saw that. You got a nice little knee across the head, and it looked pretty nasty from the looks of it. So hopefully he's not too injured for Edmonton, because that's I wouldn't say bread and butter, but he's a big piece to what's happening in Edmonton, and they're struggling right now. They're falling out, and not saying that they could end up in a wild card spot still if Vancouver doesn't get on a little bit of a roll here late in the season. So, last time these two teams played, the Blues did win 3-1. It was back on February 23rd. Was it the game that Colton Parayko got hurt in, if I remember right? Or was it the game?
It might have been. I can't remember back to that game that much. I think that was one of the games that I didn't get to see all the way.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to see the actual injury for Parayko. So I can't exactly remember if that was when it happened or not.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was this one, if it was like happened during that game, and then later on, and whatnot. This Colorado Avalanche team at 25.7% on the power play. Where do the Blues have to do? I mean, obviously, besides being a very disciplined hockey team, which I feel like they have been over the last several weeks. How big is it important that they're disciplined tonight or this afternoon's game against Colorado, and Colorado's 7th power play ranked in the league?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit ago. If they're disciplined, they stick to their defensive game, they don't make careless mistakes and get penalties, then they can possibly get out of something against the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, they're, like you said, they're 7th in the league in the power play. And I mean, with as many hot shooters that they have, I mean, you got Cale Makar on defense, who's the quarterback on the power play. You got Martin Necas, you got Nathan McKinnon. I mean, you have this Colorado team has a lot of weapons on the power play. If you can stay disciplined, then you are not going to get onto the penalty kill against this team. And if you struggle like you did against Nashville, this team on the power play will rip you apart.
Yeah. It's one of the keys that we talked about before we went live here. Of what the Blues need to do to get a win, and that was one of them. Is to keep their power play at helm. Don't let them don't get the stupid penalties that's gonna cost you a goal or two in the long run.
Of course.
When we were looking at just this team overall, the Blues team right now, you have Dylan Holloway, who's been playing lights out. He's been absolutely phenomenal. 4 goals in the last 5 games, and he's been just one of the top players of the season so far. What's I'm trying to word my question right here and not make it sound wrong or in the wrong way. Who's just the important guy that we need to watch for today? Outside of maybe Dylan Holloway. Robert Thomas, obviously 8 assists in the last 5 games too. He was named NHL Players Association Player of the Week, by the way. So congratulations, Robert Thomas, for that as well. So who's a player that we might be on the lookout for? Obviously, you're going to get Buchnevich back today too, which we'll get to the lineup here in a little bit.
Obviously, I think you got to watch Dylan Holloway and Robert Thomas. They're both on big point streaks right now. Dylan Holloway is on a 9-game point streak. Robert Thomas is on a 4-game point streak. And obviously, I think you got to watch. I think Pavel Buchnevich. I mean, he's going to be a guy that's coming back into the lineup today, and he's going to be bolstering more than likely that top line. And when he's in the lineup, he is a very good two-way forward, and he's very good on the defense. He's crucial on a penalty kill for this team. And if you are going to be getting into sticky situations like that with Colorado, then he is one of those players that is a go-to player. So I feel like those guys, they're some of this team's core players, and I think they're with that, especially Buchnevich getting back into the lineup. I think it's going to be. I think you're going to see a little bit more of how this team operates again, with having everybody kind of back in their roles and where they're supposed to be. And I think you're going to see a little bit better of a game from St. Louis than what you have in the past few, since everything's been shaken up.
Right. Yeah, and that's fair, I think. And I moved my mic. Can you still hear me very well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. You look at this lineup, and right, at least for today's game, there's no Texier, no Dvorsky. Again, in this one, first line, we're looking at Jake Neighbors, Robert Thomas, and Buchnevich back in that first line, which drops Zach Bolduc down to the third line with Sundqvist and Matthew Joseph. Do you think this affects moving him away from that top line, affects how he's going to play when it comes to Bolduc, or do you think he'll be all right?
I think with the development that Zachary Bolduc has had, I feel like regardless of what kind of line he's on, he's going to adapt quickly to whatever line he gets put onto. And we've seen him on the line with Matthew Joseph and Oscar Sundqvist before. And he's going to do whatever he can to get in the spots for these guys to get him the puck and make some sort of attempt at the net. So I feel like, is it going to make a difference for Bolduc? I feel no, because he's shown that he is a very adaptable player, and that he is good in whatever kind of situations that he can get himself into. He is good hockey IQ, and I feel like with whatever pairing he is on, he's going to be able to be a solid player regardless of what line mates he has.
Right. That's fair. I mean, that's fair. Look at the lineup here today. You got Holloway, Shin, and Kyrou on that second line. And then you have the WTF line in Toropchenko and Fosca and Walker to end, to at least, for the lineup there. You get defensively, Cam Fowler, Nick Leddy with Colton Parayko still out. Matthew Kessel is a healthy scratch today. Philip Broberg, Justin Folk are the second defensive pair. You got Ryan Sutter and Tyler Tucker, so the third defensive pair. So defensively, the Blues don't change much. Feel like they've been playing very solid defensive hockey over the last at least 3 or 4 games. Where's that going to come into play today? It's got to be important to have. I mean, they're playing really well.
Yeah, and I mean the defensive side of things, it's going to be a crucial part of this game. I mean, we've seen it to where the defense has really been included a lot into the offensive game of this team over the last month or two, since being back from the Four Nations break. And they've gotten a lot of points for this team. They've kept this team in a lot of games. So if they can be just as much of a beneficial part to how this team plays today against Colorado, I feel like they will do well. I mean, we've seen Falk and Fowler get into a lot of good situations over the last several games. Broberg as well. Leddy, Suter, Tucker, they've all been playing very well, and they've been getting the really good spots on the ice and being able to shut down the opposing team's offense. So I feel like if this, and you just said it, they haven't changed the defensive outlook of this team for some time since Parayko's been out.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's going to be something that the management group is going to have a hard time trying to decide once Parayko does come back, how they're going to structure it with how well this defense has been playing.
Yeah, you see, you get a main guy in Colton Parayko back. Who you gonna sit Tyler Tucker? Are you gonna sit Nick Leddy, who's been playing really well? You can't sit Cam Fowler. You cannot sit Justin Folk. You can't sit who am I thinking of?
Broberg.
Yeah, you can't. You can't sit. You can't sit Broberg, and I don't think you can even sit Ryan. I mean, I guess you could sit Ryan Suter, but I don't think at this point right now that's a guy you could sit either. So you're looking at Tyler Tucker or Nick Leddy, and I'd imagine Nick Leddy's going to be the guy who's on the outside looking in.
Possibly, but you got to look at it this way. Nick Leddy and Ryan Suter are like those high hockey IQ guys that are on the ice whenever they're on the defensive pairings. Yeah, they might be paired up. I mean, Leddy is with Fowler, so that doesn't imply, but Suter is with Tucker. Right. And he's a guy that's, when he's on the ice with Tyler Tucker, he's going to be helping him out any chance he gets and saying, hey, these are where you go on the ice if these types of situations are going to be there. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. If things change up and you pair Leddy with Tucker or Suter with whoever, once the lineups change, granted, this is probably a week or two away, and we probably don't need to get too far into this.
Right.
But it's something that those guys are still going to be beneficial pieces no matter how you structure things. And it, like we said, it's going to be a hard decision to make once things are all said and done, where who's going to sit and who's not going to sit once Parayko comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens whenever that comes around. But right now, again, the focus is on the Colorado Avalanche today for the puck drop at 3:30. Again, you'll see Jordan Binnington in net for the St. Louis Blues today too. So it'll be a big game today for the St. Louis Blues.
Yes, it will.
So real quick before we head out, just kind of want to get your thoughts. The 3-year entry contract signed by Jimmy Snuggerud yesterday, yesterday evening. When do you think we see him? Obviously, you're not going to see him today, but he's supposed to join the team on Monday for practice. I know you guys are going to talk a little bit about it more in depth on tomorrow's episode of the Blues Note show here on STL Sports. Are you excited to see him, or do you think we're going to just kind of be left out to hang for the rest of the season, unless somebody gets hurt?
I think you may see him possibly in the Detroit game or the Pittsburgh game. It's just with how this team, and they've said it a couple of different times whenever they've kind of talked about Snuggerud and his signing and everything, that like with where the Blues are at right now with making the playoff push and how well this team has played together with the lines that they have, it's going to be hard to take somebody out of the lineup and put Snuggerud, and you're going to have to build that chemistry. But I mean, and two, you don't know how quickly that chemistry could be built up. I mean, if you bring him in, you could possibly see him on a third or fourth line. I don't think you really can break up those top two lines all that much. No. But I was excited to see the signing. I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly. I figured that Minnesota was going to make it farther into the college tournament than when they did.
Yeah.
And whenever I saw that whenever we were talking about it and you guys said that they're potentially signing him the other day, I'm going, what the heck? This is a lot sooner than what everybody was anticipating. They were thinking it was going to be maybe 1 or 2 games left in the season, but when this happens, instead you're looking at it with 8.
Yeah.
And whenever they first originally were talking about this in the offseason last year, that like, hey, when a college player comes up, you're going to immediately see him on the lineup. It's kind of like that gentleman's handshake agreement thing that happens in the NHL when you bring a college player up.
Mm-hmm.
And they offered that to him in the offseason, and now it's it's gonna be a fine line. I think you're gonna kind of see it with what they did with Dalibor Dvorsky.
Yep.
If something happens to a key player, if there's an injury or something, or maintenance day, you may see Dvorsky or Snuggerud in that sort of fashion.
Yeah.
But I think you may only see him maybe in one game, like I said, in the Detroit or Pittsburgh games, one of those. But I don't see them really shaking up the Blues team all that much with how everything is going for this team right now, with especially being on the win streak like they are, being where they're at in the playoff push. I don't think you really shake up this team all that much unless you see good chemistry and good production from whatever line Snuggerud gets put onto whenever he does get put into the lineup.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think this right now is as much as I hate to say it, I don't think right now is the best time to see him. And then what I say is like he can't go back to. They can't send him to Springfield either because too late in the season, or it's around with playoff time there too. So he won't be going to the Thunderbirds either. So we'll see what happens with Dvorsky as well. Again, Blues look to continue their 9-game win streak. We're going to get out of here for today, and so we can prepare for today's game against the Avalanche at 3:30, and we will catch you later for the hopeful post game show later on. Brandon, thanks for joining me this morning.
Of course.
We break down today's game. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, do the whole fun thing, and we will see you later on.
See ya.